questionable. What's up, guys? Welcome to what is hopefully going to be a very dramatic episode. I don't know, it's close. So we are we are out here back at one of my favorite spots, just down the street from my house. Mountain road. Just down the mountain road from my house. I want to try something a little different today. So I get asked a lot about printing, and I don't have a printer, but I do have a gallery and I do have prints, and I have printed a lot for myself, and I do print a lot for clients and anyone who wants it. So how do I do that? I'm going to walk you guys through my process step by step. There's some important things that help me along the way, and I'm going to go over those with you guys from start to finish. So I don't know if I'm going to get a print-worthy image tonight. I was really hoping I was, because it's potential. It really is. So the first step in being out here and doing this kind of stuff is camera lady's not here to help me. I'm by myself right now. So I need to start getting set up while I'm talking to you guys. So this might be a little bit rushed. I hope not. All right. So what was I saying? So let's just jump right into it. First things first, getting started, how I go about printing things. I think, it all starts with the image first. And a lot of times, you never know when you're going to get that amazing shot, and you don't always go out you don't always go out with the intention of getting a print-worthy shot. However, there are some things you can do when you're out here to ensure that if you do end up taking a great shot, that it will be printable and print-worthy. All right, so let's talk about gear for a second. My God, I need to get a time-lapse set up quickly. Hold on, hold that thought. Okay, so where was I before I got seriously distracted? I got my R6 set up over there, 35 mil. I should have been using something wider, but I got my 16 filming, and I got my 14 for this shot. All right, so there are things that we can do to ensure that if we don't know that we're gonna be going for a print, and that starts with camera and settings. I'm not going to talk about gear because I don't think gear matters in this case. So, I'll tell you what I'm using, but just keep in mind that it's not the most important thing when it comes to printing. So I'm using right now for this shot, I'm using a Canon R5 and my Samyang 14 millimeter. I'm doing this again. Ow, my God, cactus. Very sharp. All right. So like I said, gear doesn't matter. However, since I know that I'm going to be printing, I'm going to go ahead and use the best thing that I have. So that is, in this case, the R5, which is 45 megapixels of happiness. And I really, really like that. Okay, so the other thing to keep in mind is that if you're somewhere local like this is my local haunt, go back there. I come here a lot, and that's the best way to get the best images. And in my case, the locality, being local, helps. Knowing, I know this exact shot. I did this exact shot like 1 or 2 videos ago. But I want to make a print series. I want to print a series from a few times that I've been here, and I want to hang them up and have 3 images of this area that'll go together in a nice sequence. So that's what I'm doing out here today. And we're gonna hope for some really dramatic skies. So I've got everything lined up. I'm not gonna go into the details on this one of how I'm setting up the shot, because this is already gonna be a long video. Do you guys hear that spotted towhee that's right behind me? He's literally, I could get out my 70 to 200 right now and shoot him. Okay, so for this shot, like I was saying, I don't know if I said this yet or not. I don't remember what I said already, but the other things that we can do, so I know that I'm going to be printing. I know I'm going to be using my R5. The next thing, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're using a Canon T3i or your phone or a Nikon D3 3500 or a Fuji. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters is the intent of getting your settings right for whatever situation. In my case, I know that I might need a little bit longer of exposure because it's getting dark, and I'm going to be exposure bracketing and focus stacking. So I'm going to want a good solid tripod. So I have my Colorado tripod right here. I have all the links for the stuff that I use in the description below if you guys are interested. But that, again, it's none of this is in any way, this doesn't matter. You know, the brand doesn't matter. What matters is it's a good solid tripod. So I'm going to start taking my images. I'm going to do it just like I did in the last video. I'm going to exposure bracket. And these clouds are moving kind of quick, so I want to do my exposure bracketing kind of as fast as I can. So I've got that shot. What I'm hoping for is these clouds are lighting up. So I'll show you my composition right here. Alright, so here is the camera. It's kind of hard to see, but there is what I'm shooting. I'm shooting these yuccas. I'm shooting these agave. I wanted something cool in the foreground, and we're going to look up, and that is what we're seeing. So these clouds, I'm hoping, will light up. So I'm just going to wait here, and in between my brackets shots, I stick my hand in front like that so I know the sequence, you know, of what's going to be happening. So let's talk about settings real quick. Like I said, for printing, to ensure that you can get a good print, like the first thing I did was I got my handy dandy tripod out because I'm doing the exposure bracketing and the focus stacking. I don't always use a tripod. If you guys aren't new to my channel, then you know that. I hardly ever use them unless it's for stuff like this. A lot of my images are handheld, and that's totally cool. You can totally get printable, usable, amazing images handheld. You just have to make sure your settings are right. So you're going to want a fast enough shutter speed depending on your focal length to make sure that your images are nice and sharp. There's no motion blur unless it's intended, of course. But just to make sure you have the sharpest image possible, you're going to want that shutter speed. And it's usually a good rule of thumb is at least matching your focal length. So if I have a 70 to 200, I have it at 200 millimeters, then typically I'm going to want a 200th of a second or faster shutter speed to eliminate any natural movement that I'm going to be having on my end. If I don't get anything good here, that's the gamble I made when making this video. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to use the shots, the other two shots that I've wanted to print that I shot last week, and I'm gonna re-edit those because I didn't edit them. I only did a quick edit for the video and just threw them in and a social media edit, but I'm gonna go through and re-edit them for printing, and I'm gonna take you guys through my setup and then how I edit for printing, the settings and all of that stuff that are really important, and the accessories and all of that are really important for the printing process. Okay, so back in the office. Before I get to the next most important bits for my printing process and all that, I'm gonna go ahead, and I haven't looked at the images yet from the other day. It's a couple days later. I was waiting for you guys to get here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do a quick edit of the main 14mm wide one, and I'm gonna see if it's something that I want to print. If not, I'm going to default to this image, which I took on one of the last couple of videos that I did. So if you want to see how I did that and all that, you can check out this video. So let's do a very quick edit of this new image, and we'll see if I got anything good. So here's the other two that I took the other day. There's not as much going on in the sky here, but we do have that nice sunburst, and I'm lower. I like the foreground better. And I definitely like this one better, so I might go with this one. So this one I already cropped to a 4x5. I think I like this one better on the right. This is the one I think that I'm gonna end up going with, and I think that's just, you know, it didn't work out for the video, but that's how landscape goes. You know, I went out there with a specific intent, and especially with landscape photography, you're just not always going to get that specific intent, but that's why I always say it's super important to, especially if it's local, go back to it. Go back to it, go back to it, go back to it. Even if you shot it 1,000 times and you're seriously bored with it, just keep going back to that place. All of that stuff aside, it's just that, you know, this last image, it just didn't work out. But because I keep going back there, I do have these ones that I already did. And so now we'll get into the important bit for setting up for my editing process and for the things that help me get the best prints. So that brings me into today's sponsor, which is ViewSonic. So ViewSonic sent me this monitor here, and I just want to take a quick minute to talk about it, and huge thanks to them, because this has been one of the best, most important upgrades in my studio and my creative workflow that I've been missing. Up until now, I have not had a good monitor. Okay, so what monitor did they send me, and why does all of this matter anyways? So they sent me the VP2771. So all of the links for this stuff are down below if you want to check out this monitor specifically, or if you want to see what they have in their new Color Pro series. So the reason why this matters is color is one of the most important things for me as a photographer and as a video editor, of course. So as just a creative in general who uses a camera, color space is extremely important to me. So the great thing about the ViewSonic Pro, the Color Pro series, is that every single monitor in that Color Pro series is professionally calibrated, and they send you, when you get the monitors, they send you these handy dandy printout sheets that are the calibration reports that they did, so that you know. And I'm not going to get into detail, I'm not going to break this down because there's really specific stuff in here, but it goes over like the average delta E stuff, which is really important. And I mean, there's a few pages here, there's color gamut curves, all kinds of stuff, and that's all really important, but it's not super necessary for this video. It's just important to note that they take that extra step and they go that extra mile from the factory so that you don't have to do it initially. I say initially because it's always a good idea to recalibrate your monitors over time, but having it done initially is like a huge first step taken off my shoulders that I don't have to deal with, and it's fantastic. Alright, so I moved things around a little bit. This is like the weirdest setup ever. This is not a recommended tripod setup. But I want to show you guys how I'm setting up this monitor, because the great thing about these monitors is they come with these color profiles. So you'll see here, if I come into this and I go to their presets, they have all of these presets right here. And if you really want to get super advanced and dial in your own calibration and all of that, you can totally do that. But what I've discovered, the other important thing that I forgot to mention with this monitor specifically, and with a lot of the monitors in their series, this monitor is 100% sRGB. So I'm not going to go into the details right now about what the difference between sRGB and RGB is. Suffice it to say, RGB, Adobe RGB, is a more broad spectrum, but sRGB is what everybody uses, including my printing labs and the interwebs and your phones and most programs. As soon as you upload things, your images will be converted to sRGB. So that's really important that this monitor displays 100% of the sRGB color spectrum. Let's go in here to my presets, and you'll notice how it's highlighted right here in something called Rec 709. So that's a video term. That is a standard, like a Hollywood standard color profile that we use for big cinema cameras and movies and stuff like that. And since I've been editing on here in Premiere, I've been in Rec 709 because like when I do my log, my C-log recording with the video stuff, and then when I edit in Premiere, all of the LUTs that I have in Premiere that I've made are all Rec 709. So I've been editing in that. Okay, so I've put the image down in this little corner. I know there's a better way to do this. I've been so busy and crazy with stuff lately, I'm just not able to think. So I hope this works. So here's my image, and I'm in Rec 709 right now, which I said is more for my video presets. So let's go change it to sRGB. So right there you'll notice that drop in luminosity, and that's the biggest thing. So I'm going to hit check mark there. The color profiles on here are amazing. The sRGB is the most calibrated one for editing the photos, and you'll notice again if I do this here, you're not going to see, you'll see the jump. If I go back down to Rec 709 and I hit OK, watch the colors. So that brightened it up a lot, and now it's dimming, so it looks a little more dull. For normal viewing stuff too, like when I'm just watching YouTube videos or I'm online or I'm, whatever I'm doing on the computer that's not editing, I prefer to be in the Rec 709 because I find it gives me the most natural color balance, and it gives me a little bit more boost in that brightness, which is just, again, we humans have become accustomed to seeing that brightness and enjoying it. But as soon as I open up Photoshop, I switch into the sRGB mode, and I know that this monitor is nice and calibrated, and it's going to have the accurate colors for my printing. Alright, so let me fix this setup now that I'm done showcasing this part and get back to something normal, because this is freaking me out. Okay, back to a normal setup. That requires a little bit of tea. Good grief. Okay, so let's jump back into the editing real quick, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of the things that I need to tweak on this image and the exporting and all that stuff. Okay, so the first thing, I have that open here. So we need to just make sure that we're in the right color space. So I'm in RGB mode, which is what I want. And usually, sometimes I'll edit in 16-bit, which is a lot higher, but again, everything that is going to be exported here is going to be in sRGB, and it's going to be in 8-bit. So it's really important that I finish everything in that. That way I know that there's no color crushing or anything like that going on. The next thing that we need to do is we need to check our image size. So the image size, the resolution here is as big as I want it. What's most important for printing is this right here. So we want to make sure that it's in 300, and that's in pixels per inch, PPI. So that's standard for anywhere that you're going to send your image to be printed. So that's good. We want to make sure that we have the highest PPI, and which is standard, and that's 300. So the next thing I want to check for is, I know I had some rain spots in here, and I want to make sure that I got them all. There's one right there, because it rained on me. If you saw that video, this was actually from a time lapse, and it rained during the time lapse. Look, there's some right there. See those? Those are slightly blurred out raindrops. So that looks good. So there's not too much that I needed to do to this. I just want to make sure that everything looks good. Now that I'm editing in my sRGB mode on the screen, I know that everything is looking the way I want. So once we get it that way, then what we're going to do is come up here to File and Save As. So the next part is really important depending on where you're getting them sent. So like I said, I don't have a printer myself, so I don't control that stuff, but I use SmugMug for my website, and this isn't sponsored by them, this is just what I use. So I know that SmugMug, they only accept JPEGs, they don't use TIFF files, and all of their printers are in sRGB. So I've got all of that set up. So I want the highest resolution possible. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to save this image as a JPEG, and then I'm just going to rename it print so that I know this is going to be the print version. Now we're going to come up here, I'm going to max it. If the quality sometimes is default is set to 10, so I'm going to come out here and I'm going to max it out to to maximum 12, and then I'm going to hit OK. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to come in here to my website, and I'm going to go to my prints, and I'm going to go to my mountain prints because that's a mountain that we shot from. Now I'm going to upload. I'm going to come down here, the one that says print. I'm going to bring that in. Okay, so now that we have everything loaded, I can go ahead and click on my image. So everything is the way I want it. Now we're just going to go into the prints, and I'm going to order my print. I'm thinking, because of the texture and detail in this, I'm thinking I want a metal print. And I'm thinking I don't know if I want a straight metal or if I want an acrylic metal. I think I'm going to go all out and go with the acrylic. So I'm going to go with this 16 by 20 acrylic metal. I'm going to go with the mid gloss, so high color intensity, excellent detail with reduced glare. I think that's going to be important for where I want to hang it. So there it is. So now we just have to wait. I'm going to expedite the shipping, and we'll resume when this gets here. Alright, so it's been like a longer time than I would have liked. Shipping on to like random towns in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico right after or during, it was Memorial Day, so yeah. That's the downside of printing without your own printer, is waiting on everybody else. But it's finally here, and we're gonna unbox it, so let's get right into it. I haven't seen this yet. It's definitely well wrapped. So I ordered this backing bit, so let me take a minute and get this mounted, because actually I'll just go ahead and show you. So here it is, and it's in the plastic, so let me take a minute and get this all pretties. When you're messing with prints like this, you should probably have like some cotton gloves or something, but I don't. I'm just using my camera wipey things, the lint-free cloths, the microfiber. That's what I'm looking for, microfiber. So there's the metal. This is obviously not the greatest angle because I have a giant softbox right there. I'll film some B-roll of it in a minute. Alright, well, it came with the whole mounting options, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to do yet, because it gives you the option of this. This is like an acrylic piece of glass, and you can either mount this in front of it or behind it, and that way if you want like a glass barrier to protect the metal, or if you're just cool with having the metal just hang there. Alright, well that was it. That's my whole process from start to finish for how I print without a printer. Those are the kind of things that I think about when I'm in the field, and how I set things up and how I edit and everything. And hopefully as you can see how important it is having a good color accurate monitor. When I'm looking at these two next to each other now, I can really see the difference between how it looks on my laptop monitor, how it looks on this, and then how it looks on the final print. And the laptop monitor looks nothing like the final print, so it's more magenta, a little cooler, and just having something color calibrated right out of the box and having the right color space and everything showcasing is just super important for me for editing both my stills and my video. So huge shout out again to ViewSonic for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate you guys wanting to work with me. It's just such an overlooked aspect of photography and videography in general that I hope this helps you guys move forward with your own creativity. Just make sure you don't overlook important things like that, like the color space and what you're editing on and where you're doing your editing, and you know, lighting, and just all of that is just part of the whole gestalt, you know, the bigger picture. So that's it. If you guys have any questions for me about my whole process, then just leave those in the comments below and you know I'll answer them. Hit that like button if this video helps you out. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.